Recording. I'm just waiting for my dog to stop fucking masturbating in the background. That noise though.
That's charming. Is this how it starts off? Is this going to be the
shit in the bar low, mate? Shit in the bar low.
That's going to be in the post-credit scenes.
You need
the outtakes.
See, this is why it's recorded early, because we can keep all the shit we fuck up for like outtakes.
Yeah, post-credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get that big burp out the way first, because I'm currently drinking alcohol, so this might repeat on me a few times.
You see, I can't because I'm up for work tomorrow morning.
You don't seem like you've moved into part-time, can I just say that?
No, I know.
Do you know what? Save it for how's your week been, because this is, in fact, we better not mention your work, because that will get you into trouble.
Yeah, that'll get us into big trouble.
Okay, right. When you're ready, when will we?
Right. Start the wee. Oh, we'll need to get a wee song for this as well.
I know, we need a
wee jingle.
Yeah, a wee jingle. What is happening, folks? Get yourself a drink, pull up a stool and join us for Happy Hour, a To The Pub production podcast. I'm Gizmo from Gizmo Gamez, and co-hosting is my partner in crime, and in life sometimes, it's Big Papa Mass. Say hi, Big Papa Mass.
Hi, Big Papa Mass.
It's every fucking time.
I'm never going to break the tradition. We might as well keep it going. Anyway, cheers for the intro, Gizmo, and getting us started. Welcome everyone to episode 1 of To The Pub Productions' latest adventure, Happy Hour. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, besides having our own independent YouTube channels, we also have a collab channel called To The Pub Productions, where we plan on releasing more content together, focusing on the podcast to start with.
Each episode we are going to cover all sorts of shit, from gaming, movies and memories, and hopefully it'll get a few laughs from you lot too. If you guys think this will float your metaphorical boats, then let us know by showing us some love or even getting in touch.
So now that we have all the introductions out of the way, let's start things off. Gizmo, what have you been up to this week?
Sweet fuck all, BPM. I am off on holiday. I'm one of these jammy people who get the term time holidays now, and I've actually been spending a lot of time at the gym, which is unusual for me. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I've been on Xbox a lot, but finding it very difficult to keep myself entertained with anything that's available right now. But I'm sure we'll get to that later on when we start talking about the old games. But yeah, it's been a relatively quiet 3 weeks I've been off now. And I've not done very much. It feels like lockdown again, if I'm honest. I've basically spent the last 3 weeks in the house with my children as company, which isn't the worst thing, but when you don't go out for 3 weeks it can be quite mind-numbing. What about yourself?
I'm pretty much the polar opposite of you. In fact, I've still been working for the last 3 weeks and longer.
Does that include when you ran over your toe?
Let's not get into that. You try and keep that separate. I ran a pallet truck over my toe. It was one of the things that happened, and yeah, other than that, pretty much just kind of trying to keep myself entertained with the Xbox and catching up with yourself. And yeah, there isn't really much to do, even though we're kind of starting to see the end of lockdown. It still doesn't feel like it. It's
just like, I'm just finding it really difficult to find, like particularly from the gaming side of things, there's just nothing new out. I've ended up having to go back to old games.
There's not. We are.
Like, like right now, my best friend is fucking Game Pass. Like going back in.
And even then, with Game Pass, it's like you're going through half the stuff, and it's like I wouldn't know. Even if it's free, I'm still not wanting to play you. I've either played it to death
that's a perfect example. Like, even at free, you're not good enough anymore.
Yeah, it's like I've moved on from you now. I have better standards. And yeah, it's hard to kind of keep things going. But
I mean, to be completely honest, there's like next to nothing out right now that's of any interest. I'm one of these kind of jammy people. Some people call me turncoat and traitor for having both consoles, but I'm one of these guys who have the Xbox and the PlayStation and a gaming PC, and between the three of them I am like stumped for something to play right now. It's just dead dry right now. There's like nothing out.
There's nothing to stimulate you.
I'm literally like scraping the bottom of the Game Pass barrel to the extent where I actually went back to dabbling a little bit in Ark. that survival, whatever it's called. I think I did like one episode on Gizmo Gamez ages ago, right back at the start, and I thought it was I thought it was going to be good, and I enjoyed it at the time. But it's quite mind numbing when you're on your own and you're trying to do things on, because everything in that game wants to kill you. So being if there's one game that will make you feel more alone playing it, will be that.
Yeah.
But obviously, I've managed to twist your arm into dabbling a little bit yourself. How are you finding it?
You know exactly how I've been finding it.
Keep it fucking fake. We're doing a fucking podcast, Gilly. Follow the script.
There was no script for my deaths. That was like every death was like a new and unimaginable way, and caught me by surprise.
You can be skinned alive in this too. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's. I mean, are we going to go into it much? Are we going to discuss the upcoming series that's going to come in conjunction with this, or?
I mean, I mean, listen, we've already started, so we might
right. So
fuck the script.
We have been trying to. Well, Gizmo's been kind of trying to reintroduce himself. To be fair, the only time I've ever played Ark is when I downloaded it, turned it on, looked around, realised I couldn't punch dirt. Because, as you may know, I've got a history of Minecraft. I realised I couldn't punch the dirt and thought, I'm going to die, I can't build a shelter, and then turned it off. So when I went into the actual game and started playing with Gizmo, and he's carrying me, which is a rarity, I quickly learned that it's true, everything is trying to kill you, from being attacked by a beaver.
To be fair, you punched the beaver.
I did.
You punched the beaver and you destroyed his home. I
think it was the home part that taken it too far. I'm pretty sure we kind of made peace.
I'm pretty sure if you broke my front door off and punched me in the face, I think I'd have something to say about it too. But
well, to be fair, let's not talk about destruction of property, because do you not remember bringing home a guest that decided to ransack our property? And
be killed, Sarah.
Yeah. There was a lot of Ark in the beginning we wish we'd recorded. We were both just trying to set up a basis for the game, trying to get ourselves a little base established, and then we would start recording the series and we'd have a bit more experience in it.
And all was going well until a giant crocodile decided to go Lake Placid on our lovely little seaside home and ate my Triceratops. So
yeah. Not just ate the Triceratops. I mean, that could be replaceable. It was the fact that all the property damage that caused, and the fact that getting wood back with the stone tools is so mind numbing.
Can I just say,
down trees at night time? No.
Can I just say, I avenged Sarah well. I destroyed that croc. It took me about 30 spears,
if not more.
If not more. Yeah. Yeah,
but I've kind of quickly learned that the game is very unforgiving, and no matter how high in the sky you are, a saber-toothed tiger can still jump off a mountain and rip you off your bird, plummeting you to the ground. Birdie just disappearing. Don't know what happened. Probably just dead on impact.
I wish we were recording that. I got the perfect view of that. I just saw BPM was slightly in front of me on his pterodon at the time. And I was behind him. We were flying, just exploring the map, and we were coming across this mountain range, and out of nowhere I just seen this big fucking thing launching itself off of a mountain. And this thing must have jumped about 40 feet in the air. I mean, this thing was determined to get you. Like even the T-Rex was going, fuck me. Like this thing bounced off of a mountain and speared you off of a fucking pterodon. And you know what the thing is, like your pterodon hasn't actually ever been declared dead.
No, it hasn't.
Normally in Ark,
just disappeared.
Normally in Ark, when your tamed animals die, you get a wee notification at the top saying such and such is dead. It was killed by whatever. We've never seen what happened to Swoosh.
No,
it's never been declared.
No. And the thing is, I don't know if Swoosh is just going to sit there. What if he's sitting in a rock?
Well, he's waiting for you to come back one day.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, his food's going to be depleted by now, which means he's probably gone feral, so that I even want to find him again.
You'll get him back, and
let's be honest.
The time you get him back, he'll have turned to Gollum.
No, it'll be worse. I'll be back there, and the Sabertooth, they'll be riding Swoosh. They'll be teaming up. Let's get him.
Oh,
that's the last thing I need is a flying saber-tooth tiger. I've already dealt with one.
that was arc moment of the week. Like when we start recording this, we have to do a moment of the week. That's definitely up there.
But yeah, no, that's definitely something to look forward to. Getting that series up and going. It's an interesting game. It's a very brutal and cruel game. But yeah, I just can't help but love it.
Even the dragonflies make you feel inferior. Like
they do. The ants.
These things are the size of your head.
I get bullied by an ant.
You did.
Right, because I've joined Gizmo's game, I'm pretty much tethered to him. So if I'm too far out, I just start rubber banding across the map, stopping off periodically to get sampled by the local delicacy, or I am the local delicacy even. But
you're like a walking buffet.
I am. Pretty much. I glitched out buffet because there's nothing I can do.
Even things that used to be herbivores, we see you still stand in and go, I'll have a bite of that.
Pretty much. But
you're like the new guy in prison.
Oh, don't. It's horrible because you know what the worst thing is? In fact, no. The worst part was when we hopped in the raft just recently. Actually, the last couple of nights, we'd hopped into the raft. We'd taken it out of the bottom right-hand corner map. I'm sure that is the island.
Yeah, the wee island. Yep.
And literally not even like 2 minutes on the raft, we'd figured out how to disable the sails. No, but like remove the sails so we can hide it. And then next thing you know, dead. And I'm like, what? And I was killed by, what's it called, the leech?
The leech. I can't. Somebody will know that name. If somebody's listening to this, they'll know. It begins with Leeds. Because it's because
the giant
this is
tuna fish.
But this all came from. I was trying to explain to BPM that everything, as I said in the game, tries to kill you. And I remember the first time I played it, and I thought, well, do you know what? There's a wee tiny island over there. I'm just getting to fuck. So I built a raft and went over to the island. I didn't, save myself, but I got there, built a wee shed, and then I started exploring the water, thinking I was safe. And that's when I realised there was megalodons in the game, and get eaten by a meg very quickly. But that's where I thought it got like as big as in the water. But all this time away from Ark, it appears they've updated it and brought in the mosasaur, which is bigger than the meg, obviously, and then this thing called the Lidsiditis or something. It's some stupid, ridiculous name that nobody can pronounce. And this thing is like massive. It's absolutely huge. And it just like pops about at the bottom of the water, just waiting for his innocent wee raft to appear. And it's like munch. So it pretty much like absolutely annihilated us.
You survived.
Although I survived, I got back to the beach.
You had quite a pleasant experience for all.
When I watched BPM cling to a tip of a rock that was hanging out the water with megalodons circling him. And he's like,
I just remember.
He's like, my feet are in the water. Am I safe here, Gary? And I looked under the water and was like, nope.
It was when you told me to look down, and it was just like I had genuine fear. And the thing is, no wonder I had genuine fear, because as you described, you successfully made it. That leechy giant tuna fish had attacked the raft and brought it down, killed me in the process, and I thought, oh, it's fine, I'm going to respawn at home. I kind of thought I'd respawn closer to you, because by now I've kind of figured out it doesn't work. No, I respawn back on a beach, start rubber banding all the way to you, end up in the water, face to face with the giant tuna fish, and I swear my heart fell out my arse and hit my ankles. I just didn't know what to do. I was just like, nope, stop, controller down. I have a massive phobia of like just open water.
What is it called?
Just dark blue.
Is that not called that's a real phobia?
No, do you know what it's called? Humans develop legs for a reason. We came out of the water for a reason. Let's not go fucking back in, because there's things in there that we just do not understand. Let's not fuck with that world.
I just remember how uneasy we used to be in Sea of Thieves when we landed in the water.
I still am.
And because you get the Kraken in that, right, and the water goes black and you're like, oh my god. But the Kraken, I've developed, like, I don't have that fear anymore of the Kraken in Sea of Thieves, because there's no body. Like, see, if I could see something under the water, if I could see the shape of something, it would terrify me. Whereas you just see the tentacles and it's all black because of the ink or whatever.
The fact that I can't see the shape yet, that's what terrifies me.
No, I think it's much worse when
see the black endless water, that could be its fucking shape.
See See when you're under the... See, it's a big fucking fat crack in that. So you see...
It could be a big flatfish for all we know.
See when you're under the water in Ark, though, and it is just that pure dark blue, and then in the far distance you see this really, really small, even darker blue circle, and as it starts to get closer, it starts to form into a different shape than a circle.
You realise it's not a saber-toothed fucking salmon. You realise that it's much, much bigger.
You're praying by the end of it that it's just a piranha coming to chew your big toe off, but it's always not. It's always...
Although I'm not going to lie, speaking like the piranhas, when the sharks swim towards you, they've got a kind of graceful elegance, right? But even the salmon has its own kind of uniqueness to it. But no, see the piranhas when they come to you, they're just like the wee thugs. I'm going to fucking hug you, mate. And they're just like marching towards you. They just beeline.
It's like...
the slightest wee wiggles.
It's like goldfish on crystal meth.
It is.
They just make a beeline. They just make a beeline for you. And that, although I'll give them credit, like they've got balls. I mean, we watched a good 7 or 8 of them try to take on a Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
We just stopped playing for a good 10 minutes and just watched this thing.
That Spinosaurus is still there, by the way. It's still there, and hopefully you guys are going to see all of this in the episodes when we start actually getting around to making them.
Yeah.
But,
so that's enough about Ark just now, because we don't want to ruin it for everybody who's planning on watching it.
Of course not. Yeah, we want to keep it for the series, and again, that's going to be something that we're working on. It's going to be a tension split between the podcast, this, and that series. So yeah, bear with us, but we really hope you guys are enjoying it, because I think between myself and Gizmo, it's the only thing kind of keeping us sane right now. But
yes,
moving
it's
on.
The only thing we've found. It's the only thing we've found that we can enjoy right now, like gaming wise.
It's definitely helping us kill the hours. So now moving on with the episodes, this would be the part of the show where we dive into the comments that you guys have sent us on social media. So if you guys would like to get in touch with us, maybe you've played Ark before, maybe you're sitting listening to our stories of desperation and repeated death, and you're sitting there with some answers, or at least some sort of help and SOS, then please feel free to get in touch with us on email at tothepubproductions0, that's tothepubproductions0@gmail.com.
The only email we're going to get back is just quit, guys. It doesn't get any easier.
Go back to Minecraft.
Hey, go back to punching dirt.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. See, if I could punch dirt, Spinosaurus would fucking nothing on us.
I think that's one thing that's missing. I think that's one thing. Just one last thing on Ark. I think the one thing that's missing is not being able to dig into the ground. Like if you could build a basement thing, mate, like, you know. No, actually, no, fuck that idea. And do you know why? There'll be something.
Do you remember the swamps? Do you remember the boas? No more. I'm just saying no more, because they fucking traumatized me.
Yeah, they were bad.
I have never been so feared of dying because I'm getting bit in the ankles by a wee fucking wiggly snake. But no.
It was a Titan boa.
It's wee when you can only see the heat before the screen goes red and your dead pops up. It's just a head I see. I don't get to see the length.
That's what she said. Right. Guys, you can also find us on Twitter and on Facebook at the To The Pub Productions Facebook page. The links will be in the description below. We've just opened our new Twitter account, which, by the way, can we just get on? Can we just make a point of talking about quickly?
Here we go.
The new Twitter account is the way you set up an account now is just fucking like mental. Like, you need to put in your likes and your dislikes and who you might want to be in contact with and stuff, and it feels like you're trying to sign up to eHarmony. It's like, this isn't Plenty of Fish. I just want to open a fucking Twitter.
Share your interests and find your match
it's
today.
Like, To The Pub Productions likes long walks on the beach and cocktails and sunset. It's fucking nonsense. But we do have a Twitter after Twitter trying to chat me up. We do actually have one, and it's at pub_productions, all lowercase. So go
Which
give
is
that
another point.
a follow.
We couldn't even
see this as well.
Even make that TTPP.
I know we couldn't even put at TTPP. It wouldn't let me change it. So it's down. The name's TTPP, but it's at pub_productions. And I've just went on to verify the account, and it's come up with the "Are you a robot" thing. Now this is something that fucking drives me insane. We've talked about this before, Cooley. See this "Are you a robot" thing? Who the fuck do they think is sitting on social media these days? The Terminator's not there trying to chat up some bitch on fucking eHarmony or Plenty of Fish, or try to do his online shopping through Asda George. Like,
C3PO's currently out of job right now. He's got to keep himself busy.
Let's see this. Select all images
Finding
with a parking meter. Fucking honest to God, man, what a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot, I'm a person.
Do you want to know the one that really kind of gets me though? It's when they're not quite clear enough. So it could be get the road signs, and on the corner you've got the main ones, but there's one picture there, and it's got the teeniest wee rounded edge of the sign. Now, do you click that? Is that enough of a sign to mean that there's a sign present in that picture, or is it going to flag up saying no, you're a robot, because that's clearly not a sign?
These are the things that give me anxiety. Like, genuinely, the idea of failing the "Are you a robot?" test actually gives me anxiety. It's like, no, you're not human enough. You cannot access.
The world's so connected these days, but now we're put in a constant state of personal trauma because we don't understand who we really are, because we've got robots questioning as if we're fellow robots. What if you said, yes, I am a robot? Do you think they'd recruit you?
We are Legion.
Is this Skynet's new recruitment process?
Yeah, we are Legion.
We are Legion.
Okay, anyway guys, so as we said, get your comments in and your messages into the Facebook, the Twitter and the emails, of course. We will move on from there.
Yeah, let's continue the podcast. We'll move on with the main topic of this episode, and each episode we're going to have a sort of main discussion topic and theme, and this episode's theme is going to be the history of gaming. So, Gizmo, what's your earliest gaming memories that you can remember?
My earliest, see, I was one of these lucky kind of fortunate kids that was introduced to consoles very, very early on. Like, my mum and dad always kind of sorted us out with all the new consoles throughout the years. So my earliest is like the Sega Mega Drive. Like, I remember sitting down and playing. Do you remember a game called Alex the Kid?
I do. Yes.
Right. So right now I want to talk about this for a minute, because that was in Sega Mega Drive, right? And I know for a fact anybody who's listening to this will be like, it wasn't called Alex the Kid. Did you always know it was Alex?
Yeah.
No, but it's fucking not. That's the thing, right? And I've been fucking.
But it is.
No, it's not. It's been frying up. This is the Mandela effect thing, right? I always swore by that being called Alex the Kid. It's just called Alex Kidd. That's his name, Alex Kidd. But I swore it was always Alex the Kid, because the fucking theme tune went Alex the Kid, Alex the Kid. Apparently I made that up. Because that is the theme tune, but his name is just his name is just Alex Kidd. So the theme tune is that is the melody. But I always thought it went Alex the Kid. It doesn't. It just goes doo 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 doo, and his name's just Alex Kidd.
No way.
It fucking is.
I've always remembered it as Alex. Hold on, I'm just googling it now.
Google it.
And it's Alex Kidd. Holy shit.
That honestly, like, so I remember sitting in the living room playing this with my brother, my mum and my dad, all sitting together playing this, and even my mum and dad remembered that as Alex the Kid. But it was years later when we seen it, I was like, fuck, that's just Alex Kidd. So it's like the perfect example. It's the earliest example ever of the Mandela effect, where you think something is the, you know. But yeah, I was like blown away when I finally realised that. But anyway, like the point I was getting at was, I love that. Like, back to Sega Mega Drive, you know, you didn't need all these fancy graphics and amazing voice actors and all these, you know, big shots taking roles in games, and Alex Kidd was just Alex the Kid. I'm going to stand my ground.
You're not far off, by the way. Sorry to interrupt there, but just having a wee look on Reddit about the Mandela effect and Alex the Kid, there is a post 5 years ago from Bogrolium. Apologies if I've pronounced that wrong, but you're probably not listening anyway. And he quotes, "Absolutely everyone I know, in brackets in Scotland, remembers the game for the Master System being called Alex the Kid, not Alex Kidd.
Yes.
Is this just because we were very young? Anyone else remember it in this way?" And yeah, I mean, again, this is 5 years ago, but it was, yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of chat about it, and I'm not going to go into it because that's like its own kind of can of worms, but I'll put a wee link to in the description below for you guys, and you can have a wee listen, and I'll even send over it yourself, guys, when you can have a look. But that's weird.
Yeah, it's like, it really, I feel like my whole life was a lie.
It's kind of, it reminds me of that time where I remember seeing an article about C-3PO having a silver leg. And I remember sending it to you, and I was like, I don't remember C-3PO having a silver leg. I remember C-3PO being totally gold.
He was.
But apparently he's got a silver leg.
Nah. I know we've had this discussion, and I don't believe it. He was gold.
We've had this discussion, but then if you go look at
I think there must have been a change when they remastered it or something.
No, because if you look at the oldest footage, the oldest recorded footage, apparently, again, I've not done any research into this. This is just totally off the cuff. This is just from what I kind of already heard and know. But yeah, like even the earliest footage, apparently it's silver leg.
Okay, well then,
in
the remasters, then they made him all gold. He was all gold in the remasters. He doesn't have a silver leg in the remaster.
It's weird. I don't ever remember having a silver leg, but he did, and then he doesn't, and it's.
He doesn't, not in the remaster. I'm going to stand by that. Alex the Kid and I will tell you right now, C-3PO did not have a silver leg in the remasters. Yeah. So it's one of those weird things. But back to the early memories of gaming. The reason that all sticks with me is because back then, because these were all new things, like these amazing consoles, and back then those were ahead of the time. It was like everybody was interested in it. It wasn't just for kids. Like, as I said, we sat in the living room with like my whole family, my dad, my mum, me and my brother at the time, and we sat and played these games on Sega Mega Drive. And it wasn't just that, Alex the Kid's the one that stuck in my head, but I remember sitting playing Sonic Mega Drive, like the Sonic games. Fuck me, man, to see the theme music for Sonic, that was incredible. Used to be able to pure properly jive to that stuff. Like the Green Zone music was amazing. Was it Green Zone? Yeah, Green Zone and then Emerald Zone, wasn't it? We used to absolutely jive to that, man. And then when they introduced Tails in the second one, everybody was like, "Oh, he can fly." So it was like, all those things. The Sega Mega Drive was fantastic. I always remember the Lion King game for Sega Mega Drive. Do you remember that?
Was just
that was horrific. Making children play that game.
The thing is, I don't ever remember getting very far in it, but I remember rage quitting a lot.
I remember,
and at a very early age, which probably wasn't good for your mental development. But
I remember. The hardest level in it, in my head, right? It wasn't fighting hyenas when you were growing up or any of that shit. The hardest level in my head was just after your dad's died. Bear in mind, you've just had to relive the trauma of Mufasa kicking the bucket. And the first level next is you're jumping through the jungle as Simba after he's met Timon and Pumbaa, and you're bouncing up all the branches, and there's fucking things monkeys throwing stuff at you, that you need to jump over them, and you need to go through it, and you need to kill bugs along the way, because obviously you're eating grubs now and stuff like that. And it was absolute torture. It was impossible. Like, I remember my dad and my mum couldn't do it at the time, and I was thinking and ironically the whole time the music playing in the background is Hakuna Matata. It's like, no, actually I have plenty of worries, and this is stressing me out. Like, playing a song about not being stressed during one of the most difficult fucking levels of any game to date that I've ever played, while having to just suffer the fact your dad's just died. Like, they did a number on kids. How many children were affected by that game?
Just about to say, how many people have grown up out there with PTSD every time they hear a Hakuna Matata?
It's like, no, Daddy, I won't do it again. No,
don't make me play the.
I'll never tell. So, could you imagine, like, and I know for a fact, like, because it's not just like you've agreed with me there, but it wasn't just that I was shit at the game, because I've heard this from so many people that fucking level was horrendous.
Yeah, that kind of separated you from, you're actually going to complete this, into like time to move on, go and find something else, which I'm pretty sure I did. I just kind of packed in.
I'm going back to play with my toys, like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mufasa, I'll never avenge you because I can't get over the fucking monkey swinging in the tree.
Imagine that's how the movie ended. It was just a case of, nope, can't do this, done.
Star wins. By my final attempt at that level, I was actually really hoping that in the movie Simba just ate Timon and Pumbaa when he found them, and that was it.
Yep.
He just ate them and died of starvation and depression,
and then
in the middle of the desert.
Then spent the next 10 years of his development chasing Rafiki, trying to get revenge.
Who can we just point out was clearly on some sort of hallucinogenic?
Oh, of course he was. That
monkey was high that
he
entire
was
movie.
The red berries.
He's alive. It's like, that's not normal behaviour.
Yeah, Rafiki was definitely amongst the red berries.
So yeah, that's my earliest memories. That and the likes of Aladdin as well on Sega Mega Drive.
Aladdin.
That was a bit easier, and
it was.
But I remember.
I always hated the fight in the market town though.
I wasn't bothered with that one.
I didn't mind escaping the collapsing cave.
Oh no, that was the bit I was going to say. I hated because the lava's right in your ass, and you need to swoop down and swoop. It was a bit like it was the earliest version of Angry Birds, like up and down through dodging the caves, and oh no, that was a fucking nightmare, man.
No, I enjoyed it. I liked that one better. I hated the whole fighting the guards and trying to jump up, and you're kind of like the platforming side of it. It was just, I don't know, just never quite grasped that, but that bit was fine.
I loved the way games and consoles like evolved from there. Like Sega, as I said, it was a simpler time. Everybody just loved it for what it was. I remember going from like the Sega Mega Drive to the first ever Nintendo console, which was basically like a concrete slab. And it just sat in the middle of your living room. Once you had to decide where you were placing it because you weren't moving it.
That was it. Once it was down, it was part of the picture.
Do you like our new centerpiece? But yeah, you had this big great fucking ISO in the middle of your room, and it came with the cool gun. Remember the gun that came?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, and by the way, I'd probably still claim it. I'd still claim it as my favourite all-time console, the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Wow, that thing was a fucking masterpiece, Cooley. And I know everybody was like, the PlayStation with the jump in the graphics, because obviously everything before then, it was a big step when that came out. But so for me, the Super Nintendo, see if I could get a Super Nintendo today, I'd get it and I'd play it and I would stream it. Like the Super Nintendo had some absolute game changers. Excuse the pun.
Emulators.
Excuse the pun. I remember sitting playing that and playing the Mega Man X, and couldn't wait to see what new gun and what new outfit I got. And once I killed whichever, animatronic animal was at the end, some cyborg lobster with a fucking attitude problem that took a dislike to me. I'm very sorry your balls get ripped out and replaced by machine parts, but that's not my fault. So, but that, and then the Super Nintendo had Donkey Kong, where you played with Donkey and Diddy, and you were collecting the animals, and you got a shot on the rhino and the swordfish and all that shit. And those games, they're the games that really stick with me. Like, I could probably not name half the games that ever came out on PlayStation, but Super Nintendo was like incredible. You had a fantastic Star Wars game in that as well. And I always remember the level in that when you were trying to get up the side of the sandcrawler with Luke. That's
exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, since I mentioned that game, it's the first image that pops up in my head because I remember how many times, like Simba, I cried at that. I was like,
like sand.
I was like, you're never even going to find out who your fucking dad is. I can't get past this level. So the Star Wars game that was out for it, there was an amazing Jurassic Park game which actually had really good horror elements for something so simple, because for the best part of the game you would just run about the park sort of from a bird's eye view as Sam Neill, and you had like a shotgun on you and you'd go and explore like different exhibits, and like the raptors and stuff would pump out they're all female, so they wouldn't pump, but they jump out
into the erotic version of Jurassic World.
Life finds a way. But they would jump out and you'd like blow them away with a shotgun. But see, when you went inside the complex, it went into first person, and it reminded me of like later on in PlayStation when the Alien game came out, and you just ran it and all you seen was the pistol.
Yep. And
it was all black, and obviously the 2D like aliens would run out at you. It was like that, and it was you just seen the gun in front of you, and the raptors would jump out, and it was like, that was fucking terrifying. But it was a great game. Super Nintendo for me has a really soft spot in my heart. I remember going to one of our old pals' house who finally got it. He was kind of later getting it than myself, and we walked around to his house one day, and he's like, I got this with it, and I'm thinking he's going to bring out like the handgun that everybody else got, and remember he whipped out the fucking bazooka.
Yeah,
he whipped out the SNES bazooka, and we were like, what game do you actually need that for?
It was like, I mean, it's like the attachment sort of catastrophe that kind of happened with Wii. It's just like, oh, here's a new attachment for this, here's a new attachment for that, and you're just sitting there going, in what way am I ever going to use this? But I still want to buy it.
You plugged that bad boy into the SNES and all the zombies in the House of the Dead went, fuck this. It's like,
oh, that was an amazing game, that.
House of the Dead was great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just fucking ranted there. What about your earliest memories? What's where did you start?
I would probably say mine was the Sega as well, but not so much. It was mostly Mortal Kombat I was into. And this is in no way to sort of incriminate my parents and get them done for me not following Peggy and BBFC, but yeah, Mortal Kombat definitely kind of leading the way with that. But N64.
Oh, that was like a
N64. That had everything in it. The years playing GoldenEye. Do you know what I mean? Like, getting everybody around, sitting in our old friends' garages when we were sitting playing that as well, and just the laugh you would have plugging four controllers in a console, and for hours
I actually missed
you run away from
screen.
Oddjob because I missed the old split screen.
Yeah, I miss split screen multiplayers, man.
Definitely that, and timed mines and the golden gun. No matter what you were playing, as soon as you timed mines, you'd always set yourself up in a little base, throw hunters down and just wait. Not even time mines, sorry, proximity mines. And the golden gun, if you had that, you were pretty much just ripping and tearing the whole way through. But speaking of ripping and tearing, I think my fondest memories in gaming, is the PlayStation. Your franchises such as Doom, Time Splitters, Resident Evil. In fact, Resident Evil was actually probably one of the first games I sort of sat down with my dad and kind of played. Like, obviously played with me before, but that was around at the time where we used to get the strategy guides, like the big walkthrough booklets you got, the Bibles, yeah, bigger than the phone book, and half it was just pictures and the other half it was like the small snippets of information, but you used to pour over that for like hours, just kind of reading every single sentence, every line, getting all the information possible. Yeah,
totally. I mean, definitely when you look back at the old horror stuff, like once you got to that level with the PlayStation where graphics were better and you could make out things you know, easier, and they would scare you because of that.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Remember Final Fantasy VIII and Squall's face, the pixelated mess.
Yeah,
but I do understand what you mean, and there was a little bit more definition. And again, that was really the kind of the era in which they pushed graphics.
Yeah, I mean,
and they tried to kind of give us something a bit more realistic.
For me, like if we are talking about the horror aspect, that Resident Evil is a game changer.
Oh yeah,
Resident Evil just. I remember when the first one came out. Me and my brother went to I can't remember what game shops it was at the time, but it was like fucking, you know, whatever it was, Game Station or something, some weird thing like that anyway. And we walked in, and my mum had told my brother just to go in and get, you know, whatever game he wanted for his PlayStation at the time. And Resident Evil had only just come out, and from a very young age, me and Craig could realise that the people behind the counter didn't really give a shit about prices and barcodes. Barcodes wasn't a thing. They just used to type in whatever the sticker said in the front. So we very calmly swapped the sticker from one game to Resident Evil 1, which was brand new, and the guy didn't bat an eyelid at why it was like very cheap. I don't remember the prices back then, but it was very cheap. And we went away with like 3 games for the price of this brand new game, and I remember sitting down and watching Craig playing that, and that was like, I was engrossed for that, man. I became obsessed with zombies genre after that, like Resident Evil, and that's why I'm so disappointed with where Resident Evil is now, because it should never have left the zombies for me. Like they just went to, you know, parasites and fucking world domination and all this
different
shit.
Types of strains.
It was zombie horror, and that's what was terrifying about it. Like it was hardly ever
always
seen.
a T-virus.
Yeah, it was a T-virus, and
then it became all these other things, and not bashing on it, but
what there was nothing scarier than walking down that fucking corridor and with Chris and the 2 zombie dolls came jumping through that window for the first time. I remember
hands burst through.
Yeah. Oh, and then when the next time you went in that corridor alone terrified me, because the next time you went down that corridor, it was giant spiders on the walls and the ceiling. And then the third time you ventured down it, it's hunters.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the Hunters.
Yeah, the Hunters were horrific. So, I mean, literally, like Resident Evil had everything it needed to terrify you, including the terrible voice acting. You almost became a Jill sandwich. so it had all these moments, and it created for me one of the best franchise bad guys in Albert Wesker. And do you know what I loved about Resident Evil 1 is the fact that the intro was real actors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was just amazing to me that they had like real actors acting out for this video game. I mean, definitely the era of PlayStation changed things massively in that aspect.
I'd also say that's one of the moments that, like you said, with the real cast for the intro, and then it's switching to the game. It's like the hardest crash back into reality possible, because you do during that introduction sequence or the clip, you get so engrossed in it, and the production's amazing, and it's really getting you pumped up for like what's going on, and then all of a sudden it's just doors closing, animation, and then pixels. yeah. But yeah, at that point in time, it just keeps you going, and then honestly, between Resident Evil, then going into Resident Evil 2, which by far is my favourite out of everything, and unfortunately, the franchise kind of went off in a direction that, as we both agree, it's not really where it started, and
that's going to be an unpopular opinion, by the way, because everybody I've heard is like praising the shit out of the latest one, Resident Evil 8. But for me, I mean, I did a series on Resident Evil 7, and I loved it as far as like
you did. I actually enjoyed watching that.
Terrifying, and that's what I particularly do my horror playthroughs on the channel, because the 100 people that actually like to watch me enjoy it when I shit myself. So they've got a weird fetish, my group. But
you are, not to be fair, you are quite good at it. It's your reaction. It's I've done a little editing on your compilation video, and I have never sat there and collected so many jump scare moments. And putting them all together and just watching your reaction, honestly, it means stitches. I can see why people have, as you say, fetish, because, you can't get enough of it. It's brilliant watching you jump.
And I knew I was in for a tough time when I started Outlast and jumped at at my own shadow, my guy's shadow. Turned around, there's a shadow in front of me.
It was the guy that when the lights turned off, and that was it, gone. I could just see it, and he was like, nope. I love games like that instill fear, and that's where, is it Biohazard, Resident Evil 7? Yeah,
and I think that's why I liked it, was because I was very fond of Outlast 1. Outlast 2, Outlast 2, I did a series on it. Still don't actually know what happened in the game.
No.
I've read articles on Google, and nobody seems to know what the ending was meant to be about. But anyway, we'll just blow over that. But Outlast 1 and Outlast Whistleblower, the DLC, I absolutely loved, and I felt there was a lot of those aspects in Biohazard. The first person, it started off with the camera stuff and all that, and it was, but the one thing I never understood from the game was how the character was getting dismembered and just getting stapled back together, and you could keep going. But they took that a step too far in Resident Evil 8, and it was like, it didn't become scary anymore. Like, it was shocking in Resident Evil 7 when you're half an hour into the game and your wife, who you've been searching for and you assume is dead, cuts off your hand with a chainsaw. Like, that's you're like, fuck me. Like, but it then became a running joke, because in Resident Evil 8 you get his hands cut off again, and he just picks it up, sticks it back on, and gives it a wiggle.
Pours some water over it, and then that's it.
Yeah, and I get it's supposed to be that he's mutated as well because of because of Eve and whatever else. I get it, but it made it pointless then. You weren't afraid because there was nothing to fear, because your guy just fixed himself every time he gets hurt. So it was like, well, why even put the shot? You're not shocking anybody anymore.
Dying just becomes more of an inconvenience than an actual kind of fear of, it's going to kill me here. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, it lost that personality that it had in the earlier games, where like your footsteps echoed in the hallways of the big fucking mansion, and in the police station it was like, it was dead silent apart from you, and you could tell when there was a zombie in the room, because you'd hear that sort of noise, and you were like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, the shuffling and the groaning. But you see, also, it was the feel of the whole big evil corporation doing experiments and fucking about with things they shouldn't be, and it getting out, and innocent people kind of getting caught up in it, destruction of Raccoon City, all that kind of stuff. And it's now became and you kind of touched on it. Yeah, I would say the last two Resident Evils, Biohazard and Village, reminded me more of an Outlast game than what they do a Resident Evil game. And I think it is purely just that, I'm not wanting to say over the top kind of mutilation, because that's what we kind of loved about the games. There was nothing better when a zombie get close enough and you pointed upwards with a shotgun and it's just that clean where the head goes. But yeah, it did. It sort of taking that away from it being zombies. You imagine being in that house, and instead of it being, I can't remember the kind of main bad guy.
The family. The
father's name. I can't remember the father's name. But imagine it wasn't the family. Imagine it was zombies. And you walk into a room, and okay, fair enough, you would kind of quickly clean house. You know what I mean? Because most average family, there'd probably be 8 people in that house. You'd pretty much wipe that out in a pass-through. But having something like that, which gave, or even an addition to that, maybe you found them in the basement. You know what I mean? The original kind of variants of T-Virus, and I know there's a whole storyline to it. I have watched the videos on the history of it, and it's funny because do you ever remember Chris Redfield punching a boulder until it broke?
No, I know. I mean, they made everything so far-fetched. It lost its... I know it's a zombie thing, so it's not really realistic, but you have to be able to...
But there's certain kind of realism within.
Yeah, you have to give
thing,
that impression of it being a possibility. And it lost all that by Chris Redfield being able to punch through fucking boulders and your guy just sticking his hand back on with water. And, you know, I mean, your guy takes a beating in those 2 games, 7 and 8. And, you know...
Not even that. Can I say the biggest thing that breaks the immersion? You've seen the size of Chris Redfield's biceps. How the fuck does he get that tight t-shirt on? How seriously? No, seriously. That thing is like second skin. You know what I mean? That's like forget Under Armour. That's just like bottom base armour.
I just love how everybody else get forgotten about and Chris became like, you know, Captain America. Like everybody else is like, what's Jill doing these days? Or she retired? They didn't need her because they've got me and my biceps.
No, they brought Jill back for something. She was an evil alternative version of herself. She had blonde hair. Wesker was involved. Yeah. I think that was the same one. It is the same one with Chris punching the boulder.
That's Resident Evil 5. That's Resident Evil 5.
I played that. I think I played that.
That was also reasonably poor. But Resident Evil 6 was poor as well. Do you know the only bit about Resident Evil 6 that was good was the bit when you played as, I think it was Leon, and it was zombies. Like, you know, because you had 3 different characters. You had the Chris story, the Leon story, and then you had the son of Albert Wesker, I think it was. And you had those 3 guys, and the only one who actually fought zombies was Leon. And that was the only bit of the game I enjoyed, was Leon's story, because it was fucking zombies. So I kind of lost it. I mean, in the Resident Evil 8, it's fucking werewolves and vampires here. What's the point?
I know.
Like, you're not even Resident Evil anymore. You're just another horror shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
And the thing that really disappointed me with the fact that they've made it so far-fetched, not just because of the stuff we already talked about, but the bad guys in Resident Evil 8 are so ridiculously theatrical. It's like you're watching like a Broadway show, like a Phantom of the Opera or something. You know, like the mad woman that everybody was simping over, that fucking
the tall lady
Demiscus or something. The 8 foot tall fucking lady with the big hat, right? She
what, Lala?
No, lady Demiscus.
I know who you're talking about.
Right, well, her. Everybody was like going crazy for her, and I'm like, she's just irritating as fuck. She's just stupid. Yeah. This character, like, it's so overacting. Like, when you kill her, it's like this big dramatic scream. She dies for about 10 minutes. It's like, fucking hell, get on with it. Like, this isn't. It's not scary. It became more comedy towards the end.
Yeah, I think you touched on it in an earlier conversation we had, where you said it was very much elements of like Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah. It was like, let's do the time. You know, I was waiting for them all to burst into song, and it was just fucking stupid, man. So overreacted, but you know, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. They've lost their way, and that's why it's good to have these moments when you look back at your gaming memories, because those are the moments that I cherish more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the moment that's kind of... They're the memories that have kind of built our opinions on I mean, like you said earlier, it's going to be a kind of... There's going to be two sides to this topic and this opinion. A lot of people are going to be like, no, it was an amazing game, such and such. And yeah, but we grew up with the whole zombies are zombies and this is what they do. And the most fucked up thing we had was the giant hunters or lickers, or
T90.
Or T90 or Nemesis. Do you know what I mean? We had our own sort of versions. And then for it to go into kind of vampires versus werewolves or lycans or whatever it is that they're calling them these days.
I mean, if you want to make a vampire versus werewolf game, go for it. I think it would be really good, but don't do it and call it Resident Evil.
Yeah, the game itself. No, but you're right though. The game itself is a very good game. Thoroughly enjoyable. I watched you play Biohazard and I watched Achievement Hunter play Village, and thoroughly enjoyed both playthroughs. But it didn't feel like Resident Evil to me. It just felt like a DLC for a game like Outlast or something along those lines, even though it's own standalone game. And it kind of makes you realize, or makes you question, like, besides bringing Mr. Muscles back in and trying to drag this story of Resident Evil on, when do you just shut up shop and start a new franchise?
I mean, surely at some point Chris must be getting tired of this shit. How many times does he need to destroy Umbrella?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like who actually runs Umbrella at this point?
I'm not even going to... I don't think... Is it even Umbrella anymore? Because
they do make references to it in Village, I'm sure.
They do, but I'm sure from what I remember hearing about it could be wrong, but Umbrella is now been shut down, but it's been reopened, and it's a team... The logo's now, instead of being the red kite, it's now the blue kite. And it's them going out to repair the damage they've caused, and I think that's where Chris is now involved and employed through.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's... I may have misheard.
So the old company were rightfully liquidated for all the shit that they did, and they formed a new co.
Yeah, but there's other companies involved. I think they're companies. I think it's all mercenary groups, or it's like private organisations, but they all seem to know each other and know each other's doings. And again, this is me just kind of picking up what I've heard and what I remember from watching playthroughs, but it just seems... Do you know how Metal Gear Solid just got... Like, when you play Metal Gear Solid, you're enjoying the game and you're thoroughly loving it, and it's whose footprints are these and all this kind of shit, and you're building your way up and you're progressing, and then all of a sudden they start hitting you with all the political shit, and it's just like, well, what? Your head turns.
For me, when you do me a bit, it's like the ridiculousness of Metal Gear Solid was just when you're like, whose footprints are these? It's the bit that always got me was the fact that what must be going through Snake's mind when he's inside a cardboard box kneeling next to some guy who's taking a piss. So when he's sitting there and this guy's pissing in the snow next to him, is he not under there going, I'm highly trained. I mean, I trained for fucking years for that. Why am I hiding a FedEx fucking... surely he must be like, this is the most degrading point of my career.
At what point does he convince himself, you know what, enough's enough, I'm going to the job centre in the morning, I'm going to get myself a 9-to-5 job, I'm sick of this shit, I want my family life.
Surely a random cardboard box in the middle of a fucking war base, there's a nuclear warhead and there's a box from Amazon sitting next to it. Surely that's as conspicuous as footprints in the snow.
But do you know what?
Like surely if one of those guards would have turned around and went, who let this guy in here to deliver this?
Yeah, but
what did they think when he seen the bombs? Like, I got a package for. Oh, what the fuck is that? Like, there's no. I know. I mean, I know it was early doors game, but surely, like, come on.
No, well, that was a choice. That was a choice put into the game that you could hide under a box. There was detailing. There was
I never used
planning
that choice
to introduce that. No, I think I did, but I can't remember what for.
I must
admit,
admit,
the cigarettes. You can use the cigarettes, but take away your health.
For me, Metal Gear Solid peaked at Metal Gear Solid 2. Despite the fact I wasn't happy playing too much with Raiden, I liked obviously Snake, but it peaked at Metal Gear Solid 2 and went downhill after there. That's again, it'll be an unpopular opinion, but for me, that's Metal Gear Solid 2 was a fantastic game. I still actually downloaded it from Game Pass a wee while ago to play it, but they had, when they remastered it and brought it out for the Xbox One, they had changed the configurations for it, and you couldn't change them back, and the buttons were ridiculous. It was like you had to hold down X to hold your gun at somebody, and when you released it shot them, and I could never get the buttons were all messed up.
Oh no,
it was a pure riot. So I was like, nah,
because part of the game was holding them up.
So anyway, I ended up I just chucked it because it was like, wasn't it, unless I was just an idiot and couldn't figure it out. But it was a mess, so I ended up removing it. But 1 and 2 were fantastic, and it just kind of fell to fuck after that. Like, but yeah, I mean, you've got to give it to, because moving on from memories and looking at those games, when you look at the consoles that came out, you know, we touched on it, starting with Sega Mega Drive, and then it went up to the Nintendo, and Nintendo pretty much ruled the roost for a while. The Nintendo, Super Nintendo, you had the Nintendo 64. Probably my favourite was, like, you know, you had the GameCube at one point, you had the Dreamcast. Remember Dreamcast? They came out in pure shit, threw everybody away. I loved the Dream. Like, I know that's no Nintendo, you're getting off Telpic here, but I loved Dreamcast. Like, that fucking blew people away.
I did. No, you're right. It did blow people away, because you remember turning one of the fuckers on. It was like a jet engine in your room. You remember sneaking it up out of bed early morning, getting, you know, a wee bowl of cereal and a glass of juice, and hopping back upstairs, turning on the Dreamcast. My mum and dad hearing the vacuum kicking off my room, and then going, "Get back to fucking bed."
Turning it on, it'd be like Optimus Prime, roll out.
Yeah. The loudest console ever, but honestly,
that had that game, Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. Me and you playing that. I remember doing all nighters on that for years.
Oh, Plo Koon.
You were Plo Koon. I used to go Mace Windu because the purple lightsaber. What a game that was! But it had a lot of cracking games. The Dreamcast. The first time that we ever seen the is it the Chows and Sonic?
It was.
Remember?
Chows and,
I used to give them
Sonic.
like animals, to give them different parts of the animals, like the ears and all that.
You'd have a set of wings, you gave it an elephant, all of a sudden the wings disappear and you get a huge trunk, and you're like, mate, yeet into the waterfall because you're fed up with that one, you start again.
I spent a long time after that game running up to horses and cuddling them, hoping to get a you know, hung like a horse. Anyway,
moving on.
Anyway, but my point.
I was going to say that wasn't a horse you cuddled.
My point is just a man in a suit, just a paedophile dressed like a horse looking for cuddles. Anyway, we're going down a anyway. So the reason I bring up the consoles thing, because obviously you start, you know, Sega Mega Drive, Nintendo, blah blah blah, all the way up. Dreamcast came out of nowhere, gave Nintendo a swift punch to the dick, and then fell apart. And then Nintendo kind of carried on being kind of dominant for years. You know, your Game Boy and all that came out, which was just like amazing. Although it was literally a brick that I'm pretty sure if you threw out a window would go through it.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing to be able to take gaming with you. And then obviously we talked already about the revolution of the PlayStation and where that took graphics in games and what you could do in games. And I think it would be unfair not to mention, you know, we talked about how Resident Evil and all that and all those games, but the likes of Final Fantasy VII coming out on PlayStation, the original Final Fantasy VII with all the blocky characters, and you know, that was a masterpiece of a game. And I would go back and play that now over the remake. The remake, yes, you've got the graphics, but it's not got a shade on.
I've not played the remake.
It's lost its character to, you know, it's lost its identity a wee bit. From the original, you had, you know, Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft with the big triangle titties. You had you had your PlayStation really changed what I used to wank to, because it had Lara Croft, but it changed.
I thought you were about to talk about the butler being locked in the freezer, but okay.
No, I was talking about how if you used to dive into the water and go into the corner with Lara, like dive into the corner of a pool with Lara, the way her swimming, the way her legs would move, it would like close in right in between her legs every time. I remember that to this day.
You and many others possibly. It
was revolutionary. It's when I really started liking girls. but also it always had those big advances. And then, you know, you had I think it was the PlayStation 2 before Xbox, the original Xbox, wasn't it? No? It came out at the same time.
Oh, that's bad. I can't even remember.
Because obviously you had like the Xbox then come along as well, and now your main two contenders are PlayStation and Xbox. I mean, obviously you've got PC gaming, but that's in a totally different level. Let's be honest. I hate this whole like thinking you're superior because you game on PC. You're not. You're just a dick with more money. But because at the end of the day you can game happily on whatever you game apart from mobile. That doesn't count. But
mobile gaming is. I'm not going to lie. I've actually fallen victim of mobile gaming, but yes, it is very frowned upon. But just to quickly nip in here, Xbox came out on March the 2nd, 2009, and PlayStation 2 came out on January the 4th, 2013.
Oh wow! So there's quite a big difference there. I thought they were closer than that. Anyway.
Nope, hold on. Scratch that part because I just read when they were discontinued.
That's kind of the opposite of what we were aiming at.
Hold on. So quickly, just to nip in here, the whole who came first, PlayStation or Xbox? More than 25 years ago, Sony unleashed its first PlayStation, bringing it into a marketplace dominated by Nintendo and, to a lesser extent, Sega. And 7 years later, Microsoft brought forth its Xbox.
Cool. Okay. So I mean, like the Xbox as well was a fantastic console, and I was always, as I said, I was always lucky. Like for years, my brother had the PlayStation 1 and then the PlayStation 2, and I had the Xbox. I went with the Xbox from an early stage, and it just sort of went like that. Like we had every kind of console from then on. So I guess where I'm kind of going with this is like the great console debate. Like what's your personal favourite?
Well, you see, talking like the games in the Final Fantasy, so franchise-wise, I was always very much PlayStation. I had the Xbox, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have both at the time, and PlayStation always kind of dominated to me for quite a few years, and then really when the kind of Xbox Live or online function kind of came out, that's when I'd say my big switch over happened, because obviously we were playing a lot more. Started off on FIFA and went into Halo, then FIFA. But the years we spent on Halo, going through all the different campaigns together from the comfort of our own homes, and then getting together and doing the kind of multi-plug-in. So I'd say I kind of swayed very much to the Xbox for quite a few years until the whole launch of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'd initially jumped to PlayStation 4, and I'm not going to lie, it was pretty lonely. I played games like Fallout, Skyrim, of course. I mean, Skyrim's for every console these days. But yeah, socially wise, there just wasn't many people on PlayStation that obviously were in my kind of network. Then obviously kind of getting in touch with yourself, and then getting the Xbox. That's been it. It's just, I think Xbox kind of offers you more. In terms of sharing, I mean, PlayStation might now
more for your money, more for your money.
I feel it is.
I think, I get that. I mean, I've been lucky enough to always kind of have both consoles in the house at some point and kind of jump between. But when it came down to myself, like you, I had the Xbox, and then I had the Xbox 360, and then I made a swerve to PlayStation 4. Played on that for a long time, and then went back to Xbox and get the Xbox One, and then I've kind of, out of the two, I definitely play my Xbox more now because of that online setup, and I think most of the guys we hang out with, they're all Xbox as well.
Yeah, they are. It's not even all of them, because again, there's a lot of PC, but this is because we are these days where it offers that sort of cross compatibility.
Yeah.
Whereas PlayStation is still very. No, we don't. It might have changed again. I'm not up to date. I know there was a kind of update from PlayStation.
They're still self-isolating.
I'd say for the amount of time it's went on, I would say it's not so much self-isolating and more mean girls. You can't sit with us. They want to kind of focus on our consoles.
Coolly,
this may have changed.
Coolly, we are trying to attract followers. Please don't reference mean girls as a way to try and gain.
I'm not gonna lie.
Our target audience are not 12-year-old females that. They might
have been at one point.
For fuck's sake, man! Lindsay Lohan doesn't even like Lindsay Lohan reruns. Although to be fair, she probably doesn't remember most of the ones that she was in. Lindsay, if you're listening, very sorry, it's a joke.
I don't think she will be listening.
She won't remember by tomorrow. And
moving on.
So, what I would say though is, I think, if I was to pick a massive turning point for me, and it's one of those memories again, and I think that's why I'm so fond of Xbox, is I stand up right now and just say, if it's not my favourite, it's probably my second. Like if I took long to think about it, it might not end up top, but off the top of my head, Halo has got to be the absolute, like, pinnacle of our time gaming, like the Halo franchise, and it gets a lot of stick for the more games they released. But I don't think there's any that are severely hated. I think Halo 3 probably was my favourite, but sitting down and playing Halo with all my pals, and doing the infected game on it, and then doing like the multiplayer co-ops, and it was like nothing. I know it's like just that everybody were like, it's just another shoot 'em up, but it wasn't. There was something quite different about it and compelling, and it was one of those characters, although you never seen his face, everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to be Master Chief, you know what I mean? And it was like one of those things where, I don't know, it kind of dragged me in, and I was always excited about the next Halo game coming out. So for that aspect, Halo, Xbox definitely had the upper hand for me. What I would say in recent years is, I think, exclusives wise, I think PlayStation has probably had some absolute screamers that give it, a lot of brownie points for me. Because as I said with the Halo, I wasn't sure where it would sit, and it's because of this game that I'm about to talk about now, which is The Last of Us, and that for me, again, is just one of those games that I've never been so invested in character arcs than I have been with Last of Us.
Yeah,
I've never
sort of set the bar.
From the moment you start that game with Joel hugging his dead daughter who's been shot, and roaring and greeting, like I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even know his name yet, and I was crying for the guy.
Yeah.
And then you go through that, and by the way, that hits harder once you become a dad. Like you really.
Oh, it does.
When you're away, first playing that for the first time, you're like, that's so sad. But see, when you're like a dad, now you're like, oh my baby, and it's like it's horrendous. But
you end up waiting away up in the middle of the night just to be like, just
to have a cuddle. You're like, I love you, baby.
It's just a game. It's just a game.
I love you, baby. It's traumatizing, like, but the story for Last of Us 1 was so unbelievably good, and it captured all those apocalyptic, sort of thing, all those things that you would expect to come with the apocalypse, like the way humanity failed and people become factions and turn on one another, and it's us or them sort of thing, and that kind of happens throughout it. I mean, you play as Ellie in the first game, who I think now she's what age is she in the first one? 12,
yeah.
That's what I was thinking, 12, and you need to play through what's quite an uncomfortable escape from a paedophile.
Yeah.
Who ultimately tries to and you need to hack this guy to death with a machete. So it's a real.
It's the way they tell the story, though.
Aye.
It's like you said, it sets the vibe. It's the atmosphere, the music, and this is take out the character interactions altogether, because the acting and the voice acting in it is incredible. But it's just the feeling the game gives you, even when you're going through the sewers and you're seeing everything stuck to walls and all the decay and the damage of what used to be modern life and everyday life for us, thankfully, today.
That moment of peace where you walk out onto this half of the broken building and there's a giraffe grazing at the wild grass and leaves that's kind of took form over the industrial side of things. And that moment that Ellie has with Joel is just like, it's like the middle of all that horror and disgusting, horrible things you need to do to survive. There's this just wee moment of like, God, these people are human, and it's the way they told that story is what makes it amazing.
And that's where I give credit to Naughty Dog. They managed to capture that kind of parent and child bond, even though they weren't. I mean, Joel pretty much taking her on as his own, and they captured that sort of the parental instinct vibe going around it, and just even the conversations with them, the little things about comic books, and it's the little moments of the humanity and the end of humanity in a sense, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Without those moments. And that's where good. That's when storytelling is important. Is without those moments, that's just another zombie game. Yeah, it's just another horror zombie game. So those moments are you become invested in them, not the story, not the horror of the game. You become invested in them, and that's. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about it because Well,
we're not going into Last of Us 2.
It still hurts. But that's where they went
Yeah.
massively wrong with Last of Us 2. Massively wrong.
But
they
I
destroyed
want to
that
bring up a point.
hard work.
I want to bring up a point now before you do get trapped in Last of Us 2 and this becomes the rest of the podcast and I have to put an extra hour on it. Since we bashed Resident Evil so hard though, with them coming away from what we determined as zombies, do you consider the zombies in The Last of Us as zombies?
It depends on what. There's different infected in the game. The very first level of infection, whether that's sort of rabid, chase you, try to bite you and slash you, that to me is a zombie. They're more maybe 28 days later, but that kind of early stage, you could argue that once they become clickers and all those other things, that they're not necessarily the undead. They're not, well, in saying that, the first stage on the undead either. Then are they? It's more an infection than it is a zombie. But I'm one of these guys that always point out that 28 days later isn't zombies either. It's infected with rage. It's people infected with rage.
That's true.
So I suppose in that aspect, if I'm following that train of thought, then no, they're not zombies. They act very much like them in the first stage of their infection, but they're not technically zombies, I suppose. No.
Well, there you go. So before you keyboard warriors start getting on the offensive, saying how can you slate Resident Evil but you call Last of Us 2, just let's not go there. He has answered. Yeah.
So on the console war debate, you went Xbox. I'm going to go Xbox, but I'm only sort of leaning as if I'm kind of drunk, hanging off of the fence. I'm that because because I do play multiple platforms and I enjoy different games on each of them. So I can appreciate them all for the exclusives that they have and what they're famous for, sort of thing.
I think that's where we've kind of came to appreciate them, the console war. It's like they're both very good consoles. It doesn't matter if you play on PlayStation, Xbox, a brick, as long as it's not a phone and mobile gaming, you're okay. But I like the fact that you can just go on and pretty much pick up any game you want to play.
Yeah, we don't do mobile gaming here, but this podcast is sponsored by Farmville.
No, it's not. For legal reasons, it's not. I'll probably have to edit that one out.
No, you don't. Just like, that's okay. People know it's a joke. We wouldn't let somebody from mobile gaming sponsor us.
But if you do want to sponsor us and you're from mobile gaming, please contact us. To the Pub Productions 0@gmail.com.
We like games and we have mobiles, so we're halfway there.
I will not play a game on my mobile because I value my battery
and my dignity.
I'm not gonna lie, Fallout Shelter though, yes, totally. No, Fallout Shelter was fucking amazing.
It's a bit as amazing as Fallout Vegas, but let's not go there. If you could take one of those games from our past, that's okay. We want to be controversial because we might actually get somebody, even if it's a troll, at least we'll have somebody contacting us.
Speak to me.
Before we kind of round up on to the next episode in the gaming, let's have a final thought about going back to those memories we've got of gaming and all those fantastic things we've seen. And we've already praised the likes of the Resident Evils, but we've seen remakes of them now, and we've seen remakes of Final Fantasy VII. What other game from your past? What other game from your past would you like to see remade in today's technology? With today's consoles at their disposal.
I would say Skyrim, but we know that's going to come anyway. That's been released on every console since it's ever made,
and that won't work either for the first 6 months.
No, it won't. You're right. That is a good question, and it's strange because I'm pretty sure I put that in the show notes and I never actually thought of an answer. But you see, I don't know. No, well, if you asked me this before Final Fantasy VII was remade, and again, I've not played it, I'm not bashing it, I've just seen bits and pieces, and I've heard these stories, and I've seen clips, and they've strayed away. Maybe not a lot, but they've strayed away in some parts from the original game. And I always had it in my heart that I wanted to see the game remade, and now I kind of wish I didn't. It's sort of one of those be careful what you wish for moments. I'm not slating the game, it visually looks good, but to me, from what I've seen, it doesn't feel like Final Fantasy VII. I don't feel the same connection, and it's just like, maybe if they made Final Fantasy VII 25 years later, then yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know though. Again, be careful what you wish for. But if we are going to have to pick one game that I would like to see remastered with today's technology, would be the PlayStation Classic, and a game that me, you, and a few other friends spent a lot of hours building their own bases and killing zombies, would be Time Splitters 2. But I have heard they're talking about a remake, or not a remake, but a sequel.
You heard it here first, people. Exclusive. It's not actually. It's not exclusive. Don't sue us. Don't sue us. It's not exclusive.
I'm pretty sure I sent this to you on Facebook ages ago, so I'll blame you. But no, I have heard that they were thinking about picking up the Time Splitters franchise again, which would be really exciting if that is the case. But yeah, Time Splitters 2 is definitely where I'd go with that one.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I think I'd like to see Lion King and the Sega Mega Drive remastered so I could beat that level. No, I'm kidding on. No, no. I think for me it has to be Dino Crisis. We've seen them do it with the zombies. We have to see Dana take on the T-Rex in high definition. We need to see that shit, man. Like I play
in that password head, and then the T-Rex bursting its head through the door.
Yep. I play Jurassic World Evolution. It's like a theme park building game. But the graphics for the dinosaurs in that are fantastic, and I could just imagine those level of graphics and detail on a bigger scale. Where they're trying to chase you and eat you, and all you have is like a double barrel shotgun and a one piece catsuit. So
I think it'd be on a smaller scale though, if you think about it, because there was a lot of rendering involved in the theme park simulator one, with the size of it and all the different the capacity for all the dinosaurs and how they looked, and obviously you could mutate them as well, if I remember correctly, and change their appearance.
Yeah, you can change their colours and stuff like that.
They also had their attacking animations and motions, so yeah, if somebody
I'm surprised
copy and send us it.
Surprised, given that Capcom has been so interested in this refurb movement now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised it hasn't been discussed. Dino Crisis was an absolute what a game. And it's one of those ones. I mean, it's easy because I'm a Resident Evil fan. I'm a Jurassic Park fan. You throw the two of them together, and you've basically got Dino Crisis.
Zombie dinosaurs.
And Dino Crisis 2 as well was another cracker. You had Dana and the guy you could play as, probably Chris Redfield, because he's fucking everything, in everything these days.
Anything with over the top biceps that isn't Hulk Hogan is most likely Chris Redfield.
Yeah, although he's got blonde hair, so he's just bleached his hair for that one.
He's taking a page out of Wesker's.
He's taking a different cooperation down in that one. First it was zombies, now I'm taking down your biological weapon dinosaurs. In fact, it wasn't even that, was it? It was they opened up a time portal.
And they did, yeah.
And brought the dinosaurs back. Who just happened to have the same genetic formations as all the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, because they were all technically didn't look the way they should have looked. But then back then, Dino Crisis probably went off Jurassic Park because they wouldn't have known what dinosaurs looked like properly.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you see so much nowadays where it's saying that raptors had feathers and were pretty much just giant chickens.
It turns out the Triceratops, didn't have like a fin shield. It was just a giant afro. He just walked about. Walked about with giant afros. The Stegosaurus, he didn't have plates. It was just a mohawk. They were all furry. They were like angry Furbies. Please, welcome to Furby Park.
There would be a lot of dinosaurs getting locked in cupboards because Furbies, honestly, let's just not go there. They were the worst thing ever. Imagine
that was the whole movie. Imagine that was the whole movie. They all went to the park, and when the lights went off at night time, they all started talking in their sleep. It was like, damn it, they're out of control.
You see, for some reason there, my brain just kind of went to a Five Nights at Freddy's Furby crossover.
Dude, have you seen the Five Nights at Freddy inspired horror with Nicolas Cage? That dude would literally do any movie now.
He will, yes.
I've
I've
not watched it. I've not watched it, but I mean, we could probably get him on the podcast if we told him it was a movie.
Not even that. Nicolas Cage, if you'd like to come on, obviously this would be kind of...
Bring Lindsay Lohan?
I don't think I could live up to my Mean Girl comment.
Should we move on?
We should move on. I think we're now at that stage where we're kind of rounding things up. So yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. We really hope that you'd kind of get in touch with us. All the social media links will be in the description below, but for those of you still listening, that will be To The Pub Productions on Facebook. It's at Pub Productions on Twitter, and you
pub
can get
underscore
us an email.
At pub underscore productions on Twitter.
I'll just let Gizmo do the Twitter stuff. But if you're one of the ones like myself that like to communicate through email, you can get us at tothepubproductions0@gmail.com. And
please guys, let us know what you think on the YouTube comments and through these outlets, because we will mention you, and we are totally open for debate and discussion on this, and maybe if it becomes popular enough, you guys might even pop in for an episode and share your debate and your views. But that's some way down the line. Right now we're just trying to gauge how much you guys are enjoying it. So, but other than that, guys, this has been Happy Hour, and I've been Gizmo.
I've been Big Papa Mass. Thank you all for listening, but this is last orders.
Yeah, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Take it easy.